settings here that I can see. So I guess we'll just dive right in. Difficulty, risky. The default difficulty for those happen to be challenged. Sure. Okay, I'm going to turn down the volume outside of the game here. Let's go with 30%. Okay. Operator sleepers are built to work with drones and remote machines over local networks to perform corporate resource extraction from a distance. Operators have expertise in working with interfaces and computer systems, but are more physically fragile than other sleepers. Their reboot skill allows them to hack their own systems to re-roll dice, a risky but potentially powerful move. Sleepers are assigned to operator work, are usually cerebral and precise people. Extractor sleepers are built to work at the coalface of corporate resource extraction. Often in hard vacuum environments. Extractors have a high level of physical endurance, but their confidence means they struggle with tasks requiring intuition. Their rally skill allows them to motivate those in their team, boosting their crew dice. Sleepers assigned to extractor work are often confident, self-sufficient, and have a high level of endurance. A machinist. Machinist sleepers are... Whoop. Sorry. Machinist sleepers are built to repair and modify automated systems used in corporate resource extraction. Machinists are very skilled engineers, but their isolated work means they often struggle with tasks requiring a direct approach or social engagement. Their focus skills allow them to focus on a single task and boost their dice to excel in it. Sleepers assigned to machinist work are usually diligent, careful, and structured people. Okay, well, let's go with extractor. He isn't sleeping. Yeah, this is Citizen Sleeper 2. No more sleep? Duh. Gosh. In the moment before waking, the dark space before conscious thought, you struggle to find the pieces of yourself. What's up, Inorganic? Usually these pieces come with a particular cadence, each appearing sequentially, like the boot process of an old terminal. First, your body, artificial, compromised, but relaying sense data all the same. Then it's context, the breeze of air filtration, the soft contact of your birth in 0G. Then emotion, coming into focus, coming into your body, bringing with it that first instinct, the one that has framed your past 100 cycles. Fear. But that familiar sequence does not arrive. Instead, you are unmoored in space, your body distant, your context silent, even your emotions somehow obscured and scattered. Among all that disarray, only one familiar thing arrives: the fear. It is a scrambled, panicked fear. The drowning fear, the falling fear, the fear that makes you reach desperately for any stable point. It is the fear that tells you something is wrong. Something is very wrong with you. Wake up, sleeper. The voice whispered in your ear. Wake up, sleeper. An act that makes you suddenly aware of your head pulsing in pain, your body rigid with tension. Sleeper. A familiar name. A mind copied, emulated. A body built, implanted, one person sleeping until their debt is worked away, their double being made to work, to be consumed and eventually to be destroyed. A proxy, an emulation, a sleeper. That is what you are. But you escaped. You remember that now. Broke free of your corporate creators. Essenarp, in search of a future. You cannot remember the details of your escape, but you know the fear has been with you ever since you did. All of a sudden, you remember you have eyes, and your eyes flicker open. Pale eyes and a pale face. Lane. The name comes with its own specific sensation of fear, one you recoil from instinctively.
Sorry to interrupt. A sharp smirk. But this ends here.
You search your mind for more than a name.
Is this how you reward me for my generosity?
Lane is leaning over you horizontally, your horizontally floating body, looking down into your eyes.
I took you in, protected you, gave you a purpose.
You try to look away, to the corners of your vision, to find something you understand. Your body does not respond.
But I suppose that wasn't enough.
He reaches into the pocket of his jacket and retrieves a small vial.
This wasn't enough.
The vial glitters. This object you know, and have known for a long time. Stabilizer, the drug that keeps your artificial body, your emulated mind from inevitable decay. The only balm for your planned obsolescence. The liquid roiling in the vial fills you with disgust. Lane pockets the vial.
But it would be wasted on you now. After what you have done to this body of yours.
He looks at you with palatable disgust. Lane's eyes scan your body, and as they do, you become aware of the wires and tubules, wires and tubes attached to you. Those that were meant to free you from your dependence, from the stabilizer and the control it grants Lane.
They are free, you piece of shit. They don't need you anymore.
The voice comes from somewhere behind Lane's head. It is a voice you know, but when you search your mind to try to understand why you find only dizzying darkness.
Shut him up!
Lane barks the command. You hear the sound of impact, of pain from elsewhere in the room. You try to move your limbs again, and this time you feel a flicker. The twitch of a finger. You feel the extension and compression of synthetic muscle.
Free, are you? Lane smirks. You were free when I disabled your tracker. When I gave you the stabilizer you needed.
He scans your body with angry eyes.
Now you aren't free. You're just broken. I had such big plans for you, Sleeper. I invested in you.
Lane grips your arm and you feel a jolt of reaction. You will the arm to move.
But you have ruined all of that.
Lane speaks louder, over the sound of the struggle behind him.
I will try to preserve your body, of course. I have my own uses for it. But your emulation?
You feel one of his hands searching behind your head. He finds and grips the thick cable running into the port at the base of your skull.
I will burn that out.
Lane jerks forward, slamming across your body and then spinning away out of sight. You feel yourself rolling, the cables plugged into you, looping and wrapping around your limbs. Then you feel hands steadying you, pulling cables. You glance around wildly and you see someone diligently unplugging you. You meet his eyes.
Hey!
He waves a hand in your dazed face.
We need to move! Lane won't be out long!
He unloops a cable from around your wrist.
Sleeper, help me out here!
You blink slowly. Do you know this person? He leans over you and you feel his hand on the connector, flicking switches, releasing locks.
Come on, come on, come on!
He tugs the connector clear and pulls you up. You see the room you're in for the first time, filled with tech and terminals, wires waving everywhere, all lit by big windows looking out into an impossibly bright, screen-filled street beyond. In the corner you see the dark shape of a floating body, surrounded by a glittering constellation of crimson baubles. Is that blood?
Move!
You're wrestled and shoved towards the door, which slides open in front of you, and then you're out in all that brightness, all that movement, gliding hard towards some unknown destination. You come to a stop in a dark alley. The one who guided you here, pausing, catching his breath. He doubles over beside a massive life support unit that sends a lukewarm breeze across your skin. You stare at him, trying to recall anything about him. You notice his tattered jacket, his lightweight clothes. You remember the station runs hot. Something about the power that flows through the place. He looks up and meets your eye. "What's going on, Sleeper?" He wipes sweat from his forehead and floats away in a swarm of spheres. "Talk to me!" "Who are you?" You see a concerned frown across his face. "Don't mess with me, Sleeper. That's not funny!" He comes closer, eyeing you carefully. "What station are we on?" He narrows his eyes, waiting for the answer. You close your eyes, trying to recall. You force your way through the dark to the image of a station. No, a city, growing on the back of a vast set of hexagonal solar cells shadowed by them. You open your eyes. Dark side. The word leaves your mouth like an exhale, an instinct. Before you've heard yourself sound it out, you didn't know it was there. "And me? Who am I?" You see something like fear in his eyes. Panic, perhaps. You stare hard at his face. The slight upturn of his mouth, the intensity of his stare. Nothing comes. He closes his eyes and drops his head, putting a hand on his temple. "The reboot." He's speaking quietly to himself. "Lane interrupted the process and..." He lifts his head to stare at you. "We need to keep going. We need to leave." He turns and kicks off down the alley. "Come on! The rig can't be far!" As you're led through the passages and serviceways of the station, you try to recall your life here. The texture, the temperature of Darkside feels familiar, but you struggle to pin specific memories to it. Focusing hard, you recall waking up in these passages, cycle after cycle. The rhythms of the station flowing over you along with the crowds. You recall desperation and the slow decay of your body that caused it. Then Lane, those pale eyes, offering you a glittering vial, stabilizer, the promise of supplying more for your work, a deal he locked you into like a cage. There your memory fails you, but in the dark beyond that moment the residue of panic, of fear remains. You were Lane's prisoner, Lane's plaything. You shudder in the cold passage. "Hold!" Your guide holds up a hand, and you stop your glide using the wall. Ahead, you see the tunnel opens up to a wide open bay, with a few doors leading to cylindrical tunnels, the docks. "They're watching the rig." He nods towards the dock, and you see one of the doors has a couple of figures flanking it, one covered in ornate tattoos, the other with a bright silver implant along their cheekbones. "Utsubo, Lane's guys." He looks at you and shakes his head in frustration. "All this, not coming back to you, is it?" He places a hand on his chest. "I'm Seraphin, all right?" He looks pained when he speaks. "Lane? He was our captor. Both of us. We did this so we could escape. We needed to reboot you, to break your dependence on stabilizer." He pauses. "You know what that is, right?" You nod meekly. "But Lane interrupted me back there. The reboot didn't complete, and... we can still make this work." He looks back at the docks. "I'll lead them away. You get the docking... I'll lead them away. You get the docking bridge open. If we make it to the rig, I know how to get us in." "Got that?" He searches your face for a sign of or recognition. "I've got it." "Get that door open." He pats you on the shoulder. I know you can do this. Seraphin kicks off hard and glides into the docks. "Over here, shitheads!" He bellows to the guards as he barrels through. They immediately push off from the wall, giving chase. You wait a breath and then glide across to the door they were guarding. You look, already panicked, at the tightly sealed door, its control panel locked out. You hear a shout from somewhere nearby. You need to get it open. During scenes, you may encounter skill checks where you can perform certain actions using your skills. Like the dice actions you will encounter later, skill checks have a positive, neutral, or negative outcome. The better the rating of your skill, the more likely you will succeed on a check. The odds of success are displayed when you select the check. You can see more info in the guides section of the pause menu. So this is hack the door, 50 neutral, 50 negative, 25 positive, 50 neutral, 25 negative. So try to break the seal, I guess. You just gain some stress. As your stress increases, you will have a higher chance of taking damage to your action dice each time you roll them. You shift to the central access panel and wrench it open. You scan over the mechanism, looking for a weakness. Somewhere you hear more shouting. You reach in and pull out parts of the metal lock, but they hold firm. There's another shout, louder now, right behind you. You turn. Seraphin slams into you, pushing you back against the door, which groans with the impact. You see he's grappling with one of the guards. He spins and smashes them into the doorframe, then kicks out at them with his legs, sending the guards spinning across the docks, with nothing to slow their arc. He turns to you, a drop of blood floating away from his bust lip. Let's get this open! You both hook your fingers into the gap and pull, the door creaking as you push against its mechanism. Working together, you manage to make a gap, and you slide through just as the other guard arrives. You slip through the gap, wrestling yourself free of the guard's grasp. Seraphin is already at the rig's door, inputting an entry code. The rig's door scissors open, and you both rush inside. Quickly! Seraphin grabs you by the arm and drags you into the cockpit, the ship's layout hazy in your mind. He dumps you in a flight seat and straps himself into his own. You see him tap a series of buttons as he does, talking to himself. Come on, come on! The rig's drive rumbles to life, and Seraphin slams a button on the console. You feel the force of the ship's acceleration as it pulls away. As the ship glides into place in the connecting bridge, its automatic systems nudged there by the port's docking protocols, you feel a sense of relief. Seraphin burned hard out of dark side, and you dropped in and out of consciousness in your seat as the rig made its way across the belt. But now, with open space between you and the lane, you feel fresher, more awake. Seraphin breaks the silence. We're good, Sleeper. His eyes don't leave the monitor, and you realize this part of your escape is routine for him, and he must have docked this ship countless times in your work for Lane. The problem is, you don't remember any of them. We made it, he whispers, closing his eyes and letting out a sigh. We certainly did. He turns, and you see a pained look on his face, as if remembering something difficult. Had you said this exact thing to him before in the same situation? Are you okay? He looks at you, chewing one side of his lip, searching your face. Not really. Seraphin reaches up, flicking through a set of switches in a practiced fashion, completing the shutdown. You watch, a little frustrated with your own uselessness. Running the rig, you realize this is just another thing that you've forgotten. A clunk that runs through the walls of the ship is followed by a short percussive alarm tone from the pilot's console. Docking complete. Seraphin kicks off from his seat, twisting as he glides past you towards the back of the cockpit. His hands find the rails on either side of the door, and he pauses, facing into the corridor beyond. He turns back to you, backlit and cold cyan. We need a plan. He glances around. Lane's not going to help us. Lane's not going to let us slip away quietly. We keep running? I don't know. Seraphin nods. That's what it feels like, right? We can never get far enough away from that shithead? You see a shiver run through him and know that he's suffered as much as you did under Lane. We've bought ourselves some time. He glances through the cockpit window and blinking lights at the station. You may not remember Hexport, but I do. And there's plenty of opportunities there for us. If we can keep our heads down, he turns back to the corridor. That's what we'll do. He pushes off and glides toward the main lock, and you follow, pulling yourself along hand over hand in 0G. We already emptied the tank in this thing. He slaps a hand against the ship's insides. So we need to refuel, and that won't be cheap. But if you and I know one thing, Sleeper, it's how to work. I'm going to get myself reacquainted, see if I can turn up any old connections. People that might throw us an easy contract. He glances back over his shoulder,
You keep out of trouble.
I can handle myself. Seraphin stops at the airlock.
Look, Sleeper, you aren't yourself. Stop in the reboot halfway through.
He pulls a worn crew jacket from a locker and starts putting it on.
We don't know what that did to you.
He jams an arm into his sleeve.
I don't want you passing out and...
He stops. I'll be fine. Seraphin drops his head, swearing to himself. He grabs another crew jacket and thrusts it at you.
Just put the damn hood up, will you?
You take it and slip it on. Thanks. Seraphin nods. He stabs at the button to open the lock. The inner door hisses open, and Seraphin glides through.
Wait for a little bit, then leave. Anyone looking for us will be looking for two people traveling together.
He looks at you in your worn crew jacket, a limited disguise for what is clearly a sleeper.
We meet back here later. Any trouble? Same thing. Meet here.
He takes another look at your disguise and shakes his head.
This is a shitty idea.
He gives you one last look.
Maybe find yourself something to eat.
Something you recognize. Suddenly you recognize Seraphin's instinct to look after you. A flash of a relationship now lost to the reboot. Catch! Seraphin throws a handful of something toward you. You manage to grab the projectiles, and when you open your hand, you see a stack of cryo-chits.
Those should get you some food. We'll need some more for fuel and supplies.
He grimaces.
That means odd jobs in the station for both of us.
Seraphin kicks off and glides down the docking bridge.
Don't go too far, all right?
He shouts as he leaves.
Take it slow.
And with that, he's gone, leaving the connection bridge and heading out to the docking concourse of Hexport. You wait for a moment in silence. Make a plan. You try to think ahead of what might be coming up. You'll need work. That's the first step. But what then? Lane will be coming eventually, so the sooner you can put some distance between you and Hexport, the better. So that's the plan. Rest, supply, and run. You shake the thoughts from your head and pull the jacket tight. Let's see what Hexport has to offer. You kick off and glide into port. Alright, tutorial. Welcome to Citizen Sleeper 2. The game runs in cycles, during which you can perform actions with your dice, use cryo to buy food, fuel, supplies, and items, progress clocks toward new scenes and events. You can review tutorials at any time in the guide section of the pause menu. Okay. In Citizen Sleeper 2, you perform actions by assigning action dice to them. The higher the dice you assign, the more likely you will succeed in that action. But your dice will be modified by your skill. Your skill modifier for the action is displayed on the right and will reduce or increase the value of the dice assigned to the action. Like skill checks, dice actions have 3 outcomes: positive, negative, and neutral. Each action is also rated safe, risky, or dangerous. Really nice read, Billy. Oh, thank you. Each action is also rated safe, risky, or dangerous based on the outcomes it has. The more dangerous an action is, the more significant both its rewards and consequences are. For more information on dice actions, check the guide section of the pause menu. Impress the brokers. Data brokers are in the heart of the exchange. They show off their knowledge by discussing decryption, maybe if you can talk the talk. Rules of the exchange. The exchange buzz with some conversation of commerce. This is a place where contracts are found. You just need to look. Trade scrap. Trading scrap is all about identifying materials and cleaning up components. It's an engineer's job more than a trader's. So I don't have a bonus for either of these, I don't think. 'Cause where do I see my bonuses? I'm an extractor, so I've got these things. So that's an engineer thing, though, so I have that. 100% positive. Okay, well, what if I put a 2 in there? 50-50, okay. What about this, this dice? 50-50? Okay, so let's put this one in. 100% positive. Start action. You make a reasonable deal on a cache of air filters, and the buyer remarks on your good business sense. Great. You just progressed a clock. Clocks track your progress towards both positive and... Okay, bye, text! Clock. Let's do it again. Extra rules of the exchange, extra cryo. Export trade hall, Hexport canteen, Hexport docks, the rig. Buy fuel, fill fuel. We'll need to get some food. Buy supplies, fill supplies. Here you can eat in exchange for cryo. Eating gives you energy and stops you from starving. Different foods give you different amounts of energy. Okay. Excuse me. I wish that it, like, these things, because, like, these are the things that I'm good at, right? So, like, I have some experience with this and the engineering, and I don't know what this is. Welcome to the character screen. Here you can upgrade and configure your sleeper. On the left, you can upgrade your skills to improve the skill modifier and apply it to your dice when you undertake an action. To the right, you can upgrade your push, the unique ability of your class. When upgrading your push, only one upgrade at each level can be active at once. You can configure which upgrade is active only when at the hub. Let's do this. Positive outcome, Hexport expert. Crew welcomes you enthusiastically and gives you a quick tour of the docks. Great. Chaotic dockside bar. Play Star and Stoker. Buy a Ben's fry. A plastic bag of flash-fried, salt-flecked tubers. The Ben's fry brings spacers back to scattered tables in the bar cycle after cycle. Did it. I have to spend all of my dice. Warehouse at the Hexport dock supply the industrial operations at the station, meaning they need constant loading and restocking. Okay, let's just try this. Oh, yeah, neutral outcome. You've used up all of your dice for this cycle. You need to end the cycle at your ship, the rig, to rest and re-roll them. Okay. The rig is your ship and the home in the Starward belt. While the rig is docked at the hub, there are multiple areas you can visit. Bunks, Use dice to reduce stress. Galley. Use supplies to regain energy. Other locations will unlock as you play. While the rig is in the dock at the hub, your crew will also help gather resources to contribute to the upkeep of your ship. You can choose which resources they should focus on in the crew action menu to the left. They have a random chance of acquiring it at the beginning of the following cycle. This clock is a cycle clock. Okay. You put some distance between you and Lane, but you're sure as hell you're sure that he'll close the gap as soon as he is able. This will end cycle. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Blades in the Dark or Girl by Moonlight. I'm not familiar with those. We're in trouble, Sleeper. Seraphin leans into the berth as you're getting out of your bunk. Without further explanation, he disappears down the corridor towards the rear of the ship. You drift out into the passage, pulling your clothes, and glide down the length of the ship, the cool air making you shiver. Seraphin is a silhouette silently leading the way. He stops at the far end, diverting through a side door, shooting you a glance as he does. You find Seraphin inside, holding one of a tangle of arm-thick tubes that you are waving in the 0G engine room. Do you know what these are? Tubes? Fuel pipes? Close enough. These are the engine's feed lines. He waves one in the air, and before you ask, no, they aren't supposed to be waggling loose. What happened? These must have broken loose when we pushed the ship hard on our way out of Darkside. He looks at the mess. We're lucky that the reserve tank is empty, otherwise it would have been bad. But, he pushes the pipe to the side, no feed from the reserve tank means that the rig's range is limited to the local region only. He thumps the large, lumpen housing of the engine. This thing can't take us anywhere far. So we fix it? That's the short of it. Seraphin whacks the engine housing again, harder this time. Just not been our run of luck. He turns and starts gathering the tangled feed lines, his frustration evident in the violence of his movements. We'll need a new set of these, that's for sure. Starts forcing them into a crate. So, how about you try and track them down? I'll take a look at the things here and see if I can figure out another fix for the reserve tank. He glances up from his work. From what I've heard in Hexport, Factory Row is the place to find ship fitters. Maybe you can do some recon while I sort this place out? It's on the other end of the station. Okay, I'll take a look. Seraphin keeps working. Girl by Moonlight is a magical girl TTRPG. Gotcha. Wait. Seraphin pauses, seemingly unsure. There's something else. He drops the feed lines and they float, waving in the air like a tubular seaweed. I've heard word that Lane's on the hunt. He frowns. A message went out to everyone in the local radius of Darkside. He's looking for us. Shit. And you said it. Which is why we need those feed lines. I'm gonna try and work something out. Maybe I can improvise a solution. I don't know. He looks down. I'm no ship fitter. But while I do, you go hunting. See what you can turn up, okay? He smiles a weak smile. Now get out of here. You leave the engine room, the clanking sound of Seraphin's cleanup efforts echoing through the ship. Fuel feed lines. That's the next step. You take a deep breath and head out. Okay. You've discovered a drive. Drives help you track and choose your objectives in Citizen Sleeper 2. Press the arrow button on the top left to open the drive menu and choose which drive to track. Once a drive is tracked, a yellow marker will be placed above any location that relates to that drive. Drive comes in two types, major and minor. On completion, a major drive rewards 2 upgrade points and a minor rewards 1. Keep an eye on the drive menu as you progress to see what new opportunities and objectives are available, and track those that you want to pursue. What's up, Koyu? How you doing today? Factory row. How do I bring that back up again? Do I have to only see it here? I don't think I fully understand. So is this because I have that marked? So if I were to mark something else like plus cryo, this wouldn't be here? No, it still says plus because that has to do with our ability here. I thought that it was saying that, like, when I mark one of those tasks, it will, like, indicate, like, hey, that this task is associated with your goal. So, like, scavenge fuel. So, like, I should be able to, like, chat to crew, explore the docks. Let's see, we could go to the trade hall. It's like fill fuel. Like something should light up here because that has association. Is that that's not how that works? Okay. Here we go. There we go. Okay, got it. Thank you. I thought that this was the quests here. Like this on the left, this crew. I thought this was like our crew tasks. Not this top left thing. I didn't realize that. Let's try this. Neutral outcome. You watch how the haulers work and do your best to assist them. It's tiring, but they appreciate your commitment to the work. Okay. You did it. Export factories are picky about who they work with. Trust is a key currency here if you want to find a ship fitter. Factory row howls as you walk through its cramped passages. Whatever its many bays and rooms once were, they now serve as containers for industry of every kind. Whirring manufactories precisely engineer components with rapidly shifting arms, while scrappers hammer incessantly at bent ship plates. Everywhere you look, there is energy and activity, and for good reason. Hexport itself is built on the derelict fragments of solar reflector, and even the small amount of energy generated by its remaining mirrors is enough to power a city of machines. It's familiar to you, of course, in a strange, far-off way, because of Darkside. That place and your memories of it are a muddy haze, but it's hard to forget the glint of its hexagonal reflectors, 10 or 20 times more in number than Hexport, and that wild, flickering city growing in their back like a tumor. In comparison, Hexport feels provincial, but deep in Factory Row, you can almost be back in Darkside. And then you see them. tubes just like those Seraphin had waved in your face, the feed lines. You push over the display window of the unit marked Karsten Supply and block capitals cut from the hull plate. There, amongst an angled shelf of oversized chip components, sit the feed lines, like some large biomechanical tangle of snakes. You slip inside, where the sound of factory row is a little screened, and spot a large figure working at the bench, hunched over and concentrated. It seems he doesn't notice you. Hello? Hello? A sharp eye glints at you, glints as the figure looks over their shoulder. Can I help you? His accent is heavy. Yeah, go ahead. His accent is heavy, but unknown to you. Those feed lines, how much? It's a sharp clink as Karsten places his tools and the component against a magnetic plate on the wall. He turns with surprising grace and begins cleaning his hands on a cloth. Those sharp eyes scan you, but Karsten's thick-set features do not betray the results of his assessment. Cost $2 million, for a claw that never collected. He looks at his hands while he speaks, checking for stray oil stains. Yeah, well, they only be easy. He sounds out the letters in a way you don't recognize as he speaks. You try to recall anything you know about your ship, but the memories elude you. Perhaps Seraphin should have come along. That's right. Karsten nods. Oh, I was going to see one of those here on it. Look. Karsten drifts over to where you're standing, his imposing height evident. For a fellow enthusiast like you. He continues in a distinctive monotone. There's a on the ground, clean jets. Shoots a glance at the feed lines. Oh, wonder, let's say. 400? 400? Karsten says back, repeating your question without the emphasis. It's expensive. It's expensive, all those to shape. It's what they think it's worth. Screws up his mouth a little into something that might be a smile. However, I'm all the bars off myself anyway. Barter sounds good. Karsten nods sagely. Yeah, a little favor I'll need the crew for. Well, hey, you look like might be a good fit. He tucks his cloth away in a pocket and clasps his hands. I know we don't saw a wreck out here. Real old. Break collapse. Tucked away in a dead zone. No one has ever really caught it. He shrugs. Not only that, but so I'm derelicts have a habit of triggering nasty security protocols as it's approached by an unfamiliar ship. So, it's been left well alone. Well, sounded like you an old Solheim rig. Bet it wouldn't even flinch if I saw you coming. He smiles. I have a special interest. Need that old tech. Although Solheim tricks off data core. Well, I don't care about them kind of reports or material ledgers or wherever keeping the damn thing. You care about the hardware. So, if I was to find you back there with a data core in your cargo hold, clean cut complete, well, I could see my way to do the straight bottom for those felines. Karsten pauses, sniffs at the air again. Yeah, you just need the coordinates. Let's do it. All right, then. He holds out a heavy hand for you to shake, and as you automatically reach out, he grabs your forearm instead. Karsten pulls you closer, squeezing your arm. Let's kick this on, Peter. All right. He half smiles, his face huge and close. It's all today. Before you can respond, he thumbs a little drive into your palm. Just call it. And then he lets go of your arm, and with that, With a what you swear is a wink. A wink with 2 eyes. You take a moment to gather yourself, and by the time you do, a whirring fills the air, Karsten having returned to his workbench. You turn and glide out of Karsten's supply with a growing mix of anxiety and excitement in the pit of your stomach and the cacophony of Factory Row in your ears. A contract. Seraphin might even be impressed. You look at the drive in your palm and smile. This could be a route out. You think of leaving this place behind in possession of an improved ship, too. Suddenly, a small but firm hand falls in your back, an equally small voice coming from it.
Hey, hey, wait up! Hey, hey, wait up!
You turn to the passage to see a young woman, her hair waving from rapid glide. She clearly just came out of it to catch you. Wait, she clearly just came out of to catch you. Rapid glide, she just clearly came out. Okay, I understand. Her hair waving from the rapid glide she clearly just came out of to catch you. She steadies herself using your shoulder.
Sorry.
She smiles, a quick and flat smile.
Wanted to catch you. I'm Junie.
Her dark eyes flick around nervously. You notice the portable terminal she carries. Something data scrapers call a deck, and her backpack full of components and trailing wires. Do I know you? She pauses, confused by the question.
No.
She pauses again.
Karsten,
she starts, still catching her breath.
He sent me to grab you. Karsten, he sent me to grab you.
Okay. She smiles that flat smile again. What?
Wants me to come with you on that job.
Her eyes shoot down to the drive in the palm of your hand. She smiles again. Why didn't he tell me? I think I'm probably done here at this point. We've played this for quite a while, I feel like. She glances back towards Karsten's.
I guess he forgot. He does that sometimes.
She looks sheepishly at you.
He just grabbed me after you two were done talking, so... Karsten's always sending me on things like this. I guess he wants me to help you out. Keep an eye on things.
She pauses.
I can be pretty helpful. So...
She looks around at the passage.
Should I meet you at your ship and you can tell me when you're ready to go?
Okay, sure.
Okay, great.
Her eyes light up. She notices she still has her hand on your shoulder and takes it off. Ginny pushes off and waves.
Looking forward to working with you!
She calls back as an afterthought. Okay. You watch her disappear down the passage. Things are getting complicated already, but at least you have a contract and a way to get the feed lines. Ginny clearly works with the data based on the gear she was lugging around, which might make her useful when it comes to pulling out the data core. But the question is, what does she get out of it, and why didn't Karsten mention her sooner? You consider your options as you head back towards the rig. We're definitely not going to verify this with Karsten at all. All right. This character looks more like an Italian-American gangster accent. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. So, story-driven sci-fi... dice RPG. Time management. I guess more like action. Action management. Type situation. Choose what tasks you want to complete to work toward your goals. With limited actions. Really beautiful cyberpunk sci-fi art. Great writing. Seems pretty solid. Like, it's not really my kind of game. I had a good time doing the reading for it. Like I said, the writing I think is pretty good. And yeah. So I thought it was good, but it was good, well written. The art's really great. Can you delay monster meals? I'd love to watch it live, but I'm going to a medical exam right now. Okay. Like what, to like tomorrow or something, or like just later today? So I would say it's at least a 3, maybe probably a 4. I mean, it definitely feels like an above average kind of experience to me. It's just not like my kind of game. Probably not. But yeah, I definitely recommend checking that out. I mean, I feel like it's the sequel. If you're interested in that game, then you're probably already going to be diving into it. You don't need me to tell you about it, but yeah, if that looked interesting, I mean, there's the first game that you could check out too. It's probably more of the same. So that's pretty cool.